Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studio inside Max 6 Conscious Workspace in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. I'm your host and Phoenix Business Radio studio partner, Karen Nowicki, and I am very excited to have my neighbors from the east side of the Broadway Road, the folks from United Dairymen of Arizona. We have Roxy Helman, Communications Manager. Welcome, Roxy.
Hi.
I'm excited to have you in the studio.
Yeah, me too.
We've shared before we got on air that we've seen each other in several Zoom meetings with the Tempe Chamber, and it's just nice to be in person, socially distancing, of course. Have you on the other side of the table. But thank you for accepting the invitation to be here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Roxy brought with her Ashley Ellixson, who is the Executive Vice President, Legal and Risk Management. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. And you mentioned again off air that you are born and raised Arizonan.
I
have
am.
done some years outside of the state. What brought you back to Arizona?
Actually, this job that I'm at now with United Dairymen of Arizona brought me back.
Very good. In this particular role, or have you grown in the role? I mean, surely you've grown in the role.
I've grown in the role recently, yes. So I started out as Vice President of Legal and Environmental Affairs, and now I'm Executive Vice President of Legal and Risk Management.
Yeah. So let's back up. I'm happy to have you both and have an opportunity to connect with you for the first time. Tell us about your organization, who you serve. Let's just kind of dig in for our listeners, and we've got lots of other great questions I want to ask. So who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Roxy. Kick it off.
I will go. So United Dairymen of Arizona is a dairy cooperative located on Broadway and Hardy, as we most people know. And we serve our members, which are the dairy farmers of Arizona. So we have local family farms throughout the state that we basically pull their milk and help them market it and sell it. And if we have too much fluid milk to sell, then we will take it to our plant and dry it for other milk and dairy products.
And when you help them market it, you do it under their label, their own labels?
So I'll go ahead and pick it up now. So what we do... marketing milk means that we find homes for the milk. So all of the dairy producers don't have their own label. So our customers, for example, we market to Kroger, which is Fry's here in the Valley.
Where I
Safeway,
shop
there you go.
Several times a week.
Yep, Safeway and Shamrock. So school lunch, obviously, the Shamrock milks in the school lunch program. And those are probably our main fluid customers. And then we also market their milk to Schreiber, which also, again, ends up in McDonald's cheese, for example. So anything like Roxy was saying that doesn't go to some of our main customers, especially the fluid customers that you can walk into your local grocery store and buy that gallon of milk, will come back to the plant. And those big silos you see hold pasteurized milk, cream, and so forth. And then we turn it into different powdered milk. We do have a cheese plant on site as well. So again, cheese curds for all those who are into that. We also produce those. But a lot of our powder that we produce actually goes for export. One of our main export partners is Mexico to the south. And again, that just creates a longer shelf life. So anything you can't sell right away, as we all know, milk does sour within a certain amount of time. Therefore, we turn it into powder, create the longer shelf life, and provide food for global markets.
Oh my gosh. In just 3 minutes, I feel so much more informed, right? I have been a longtime Tempe resident, grew up in Tempe and went to high school at McClintock and would drive down Broadway. How long is I'll call it a plant, but how long has that location been in existence?
Since 1960.
Yeah. So it's been there forever, at least forever in my lifetime. And it's, of course, surrounded by larger buildings now and certainly more businesses and residents and that sort of thing. But back in the day, it kind of stood out as this big, massive, cool thing, right? But I never really understood. And even in introducing you to a couple people as we walked into the studio this morning, I kept saying United Dairy Council. And you lovingly corrected me. I was really glad I got it right for the introduction. But could you explain for our listeners, and I think I'm aware now after we talked a little bit about it, why I kept defaulting to United Dairy Council thinking that was one and the same. But yeah, let's just have a brief conversation about that.
Sure. So United Dairymen of Arizona is the cooperative side of milk in Arizona. And then we have our Chekhov program, which is Arizona Milk Producers or Dairy Council of Arizona. So I think it was in the 80s that the Chekhov program started, and dairy farmers pay a certain percentage of milk that they sell into the Chekhov program for generic promotion of milk and education for dairy products.
Very good.
Yep. So if you see Fuel Up to Play 60, yeah, exactly. So that is a partnership that Dairy Council engages in, and actually dairy councils across the U.S., I believe. There's a national Chekhov program called Dairy Management Inc., and they spearhead a lot of those national programs. So there's normally the national program, and then you'll have the local promotion program. So again, Fuel Up and Play 60 is one that I think a lot of people are familiar with if you're watching sports or have young kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
How large or small are the farms that you work with, or the dairy farmers that you work with? Do they vary?
They're pretty large. They're I think Keith said 15 times larger than the average size in the nation. But they're all family farms. They've all, many of our farmers have actually, their families started the co-op, and now they've grown since then. So they are pretty large. I think our smallest is 500 to 700, and then
I think maybe larger than that.
And
that's just, and you'll see that just across the U.S. Like back east, you'll see them more 100 cow dairies, and then you come out west and you just see much larger farms, just because of the vast land and just the climate out here allows for it. But yeah, like to Roxy's point, you'll see some fourth generation, kids on the farm, taking up, helping to diversify into sustainability programs or projects on the farm, or just, there's farming that has taken on its own life in conjunction with the dairies. But you'll see, I think actually our smallest is, I think, around 1,000. And then, they go up from there. Our average is around 3,000 cows, milking cows.
Wow. So, of course, I see some along the 202 and other places in the Metro Phoenix area, but this is a cooperative for all of the state of Arizona. Are there any really heavily populated areas of Arizona where we would find dairy farmers?
Oh, yeah, there are. So I believe the dairy farm that you mentioned on the 202 is the one near Arizona Avenue.
Yes.
So that is Creamline Dairy, and they are an original member of the co-op. Their family founded the co-op, and I think their anniversary is October 16th, they said.
Happy anniversary, Creamline.
Yeah. And they, emigrated from Holland and came and helped start the co-op. So that is one that's definitely kind of lived there, and the city has grown around it. But then in Glendale, there is Rovey Dairy, and he is literally a couple miles from
Cardinal Stadium.
Cardinal Stadium.
Yeah.
I think it's State Farm Stadium now. So he's a couple miles from the stadium, obviously right in the middle of the city on Northern, and they've been there since the 40s, but the city's kind of grown up around them.
Yeah. So how has COVID impacted the folks, the members of the co-op? I mean, Business RadioX, we talk about this a lot, from everything from somebody in marketing and how they're helping their clients pivot and shift and redirect, who they're focused on, and sometimes even their product line or their offerings for service, to the university presidents. We had NAU, ASU, and U of A presidents on a segment with the SciTech Institute and Arizona Tech Council not too long ago, talking about, of course, safety and students and how we're going to integrate this online program and keeping kids here when they graduate so that we have, great organizations and corporations to work for. How have you all had to support your dairy farmers in this pivot, and what has it meant for you guys as a cooperative?
Okay, I'll start this one only because I did a handful of interviews when COVID kind of hit hard, right? And a lot of that had to do with why were our producers dumping milk. For those who followed, the news, it was pretty prevalent at the time. And that had to do with basically the entire supply chain. And it boiled down to everyone rushed to the grocery stores, took everything off the shelves they could, right? And, it is what it is.
Right.
And then the processors basically had to stockpile. They couldn't get milk through fast enough, and it was just a supply chain backup. So what happened is we were full at the milk plant, like I just described, that's where excess milk comes. We were completely at capacity. The processors couldn't take any more. They couldn't handle any more. They were trying to move milk out of their freezers, and it was just kind of a calamity at the time, which again, a lot of us were dealing with. I know I couldn't find toilet paper for a while.
Right.
So that was one of the major things at the very beginning, and how we supported and helped our producers. Again, Dairy Council, I worked closely with them because school lunch program. So how do we move more milk into the school lunch program to provide more food for those children? Okay, so then we worked with USDA waivers. We worked closely with Shamrock. We worked closely with Kroger to try to get to these areas that the trucks just couldn't get there, or they couldn't get there fast enough. And there were, people that needed nutrition. So we worked as hard as we could, tirelessly, weekends, so on and so forth. And thank goodness for the governor's office was great. The Department of Education was great. Department of Ag. It was just kind of an all hands on deck. How do we get this milk through the processors to be pasteurized and to get out to those people who were needing the nutrition, because the children weren't coming to school at that time? So that's one bucket of how we helped our producers to basically, the worst thing that anyone wants to see in the dairy industry is milk hitting the ground, because they work hard to feed those cows to ensure that they're producing the highest quality and a nutritious product. And that was hard. That was devastating for them. It was devastating for us. And I know that there were people out there at the time in the community that didn't understand. So again, and then we jumped on any interview we could take so we could help explain.
Educate.
Yeah, right. Educate. So that was one. Additionally, we worked closely, because I do our government relations. We are part of a handful of industry groups in DC, and we were working hard to help our producers get the support they needed to ensure that they could make it through this downturn. So there was a lot of work on the Hill, and we are continuing that endeavor. So that's been pretty, as successful as it can possibly be during this time. And we continue to advocate for those needs. So that was another issue at that time. And then I know at the plant, Roxy, if you want to kind of talk about, how we help the employees at the plant, and then also at the farms and that kind of resource.
Right? Yeah. Obviously no one knew what was going on. So it was just crazy. So anytime we got resources, are we an essential business? Are we not? So yes, we are. Here is a letter to verify, because we had been hearing stories that people were getting pulled over and couldn't go into certain areas. And we can't not have our employees at work. We need them to work, and we need them to, we can't just shut down for the day, because then milk's going to be hitting the ground again.
Right.
So, just making sure that our employees felt supported. And I know with the childcare situation, that was a huge, it was just crazy for everyone. So trying to support our employees as much as possible. And then, of course, the producers, and trying to get any resources we had, any sort of, here's a letter for your farm workers. Here is how you can, navigate this. Here's what to do if someone could test positive. Like, we just were trying to get as much information out to everyone as possible, because, again, completely new situation.
And without a group like this, I would imagine farmers are out there on their own trying to navigate it. So you help in so many ways. Your advocates, your safety nets, your marketing, your PR, your distribution. All those areas, right?
Yeah, that's, I guess, the benefit of being part of a co-op.
Yeah, this beautiful that is the nature of a co-op. This beautiful lifeline, so that one group or one entity feels and is immersed in a larger organization. Yeah, that's huge. How involved are you with other states? You alluded to it a little bit, but is there a lot of collaboration, a lot of connection and communication?
There are many groups that we're a part of. We're part of like a Western Dairy States group. We are part of National Milk, which is a national group which involves many other co-ops. We're a part of a group called IDFA, and I'm going to mess up what that means, International Dairy Foods Association. Very good. Okay, thank you. Pat on the back. And that's processors. So again, our peers like Shamrock and Kroger, they're part of that group. So we all work together within that supply chain. And I will say that that's probably one of the best resources that we can offer our cooperative member farms, because like you just pointed out, one particular family on one farm trying to do all this on their own. I think as an industry, it was hard enough to navigate. So, thank goodness, Roxy did an amazing job. I mean, we were sending out like emails after emails and just, again, if you miss this resource, and it was just constant, and we were all fielding phone calls, and it was, I will say, like, we have a really, really strong team at UDA, and everyone is not afraid to answer a call at 9:00 at night, 5 a.m. It could be Christmas morning.
Wow.
Yeah. And so,
and you mentioned a couple of farms, Creamline and Rovey. And Creamline, you said, was an original member, 40 something years.
We're a founding member, so 1960. So they are 60 years old.
I was going to say
on Friday.
That's around my birth year, so I should be able to do the math. What would someone like Creamline, or someone who's been with you a long time, say about the value that you bring to them and their livelihood and the people they serve? I would imagine it's life-saving.
I would hope so. We don't want to toot our own horn.
I know.
Well, that you are. I'm giving you permission to toot your own horn. That's why I've invited you, because you are such an essential part of not only our Tempe community, but of course our state of Arizona. So toot your own horn. Like, what is the greatest compliment that you all could get as an organization?
I think that they appreciate that on any front they're having an issue with, whether it be in the midst of COVID or whether it be, I need help with an employee with X, that they can call any of us up and someone has a resource for them. And if there's an issue on their dairy, we have a service and supply arm. We have technicians that can go out there and help them with that. I think we're maybe one of the, last co-ops that offers that sort of full service. We have their supplies, we have mechanics, we have, things of that nature that I think I would say that they'd probably, toot our horn about.
Love it. Yeah. Other areas or other farms that you would want to give a shout out to? I mentioned kind of the statewide. We covered a little bit of Metro Phoenix. Where else can we find?
You can find in the East Valley is Arizona Dairy Company on Elliott and Power. They've been around since the 70s, I believe. Van Ryn Dairy is another one in the East Valley that's been around since the 90s. But the majority are in Buckeye or Casa Grande, Stanfield,
Maricopa.
Which way is Stanfield?
So if you go past Maricopa and you keep going southwest, you'll hit Stanfield.
Okay, it's just not a city that I...
No, it is not. Or if you hit Casa Grande and you go west, you'll hit Stanfield.
Okay.
Yeah.
So funny. I got this image of driving, right? Long distance within the state. And I just saw a meme, and I'm going to probably mess it up, yesterday, that had a picture of a cow. And it said something about, anytime you see a cow while driving somewhere, someone in the car has got to say, "Oh, look, there's a cow." It was something like that. But it's true. That's why I laughed, because as soon as you were describing which way to go, I'm like, okay, I think I'm probably that one in the car that goes, "Oh, look,
there's a cow." Yeah.
I love it. I want to go back to something you said about the relationship with the USDA and schools. I mentioned my son is in middle school and in the Kyrene School District, actually. And we got an email that said that the lunch program is now free for everybody. First, it was going to be up through December, which I'm probably preaching the choir, because I'm sure you're aware of that, given your relationship. But then it was just extended through June. And as a single parent myself, and having a business owner and, just trying to make ends meet, I felt really blessed. There's never been a time that I've needed to take advantage of something like that. But he was excited. I'm excited. So thank you again for being an advocate on both sides of it, right? For the families who need to have that nourishment, but also for our farmers. Wow. Yeah. I don't know why I'm emotional, but there I am.
It's extremely emotional.
It is.
And that's the thing. It's not only that we're helping our farmers, but our farmers' children also go to those schools. Right. So they, their hearts go out to, we work hard to make this nutritious product. We want that to go to those children, whether it's in the form of fluid milk or yogurt. Those are things that are, very nutrition packed. And we work, like I said, tirelessly, and we continue to work to make sure that those children are getting food. And even those families who maybe weren't going through a hard time before, maybe are going through a hard time now.
Oh
It's
my
important.
gosh, so many families. We've had Local First Arizona on with us several times as guests, and they also have their own show with us. And we have these conversations around how we really have to rally around our community, especially during a time like this. A lot of these kids go to school, and that is the only meal they're going to get.
Absolutely.
Right? And the school lunches aren't always packed with a lot of nutrition, right?
Sure.
They're doing the best they can. But milk would be one of those things that's a staple, the protein. It's just, and that's so critical, right? And those kids, those families rely on that.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the biggest stories that ever stood out to me was when we worked with a food bank, or United Food Bank. I'm sure you're familiar.
Yes.
They had a Help Yourself program, and we were able to donate some milk to that program, and people got to come in and, grab their milk. And the looks of joy on people's faces. Someone said that milk was a luxury, and I'm like, we're literally surrounded by milk all day, every day at the office, and how,
and how you just said it was a staple.
Yeah, I mean, it's
hear that.
It's such an important, part of people's diets, and I mean, it was really nice to hear that people were that appreciative to get a gallon of milk.
You don't have to answer this question if it's not appropriate or doesn't make sense, but with so much more information and really marketing around the types of food we should be eating. Avoid this, avoid that, don't. And I grew up on milk, and whole milk is still in our refrigerator. I have to have the lactose-free version, but we still have it in our refrigerator. But how have you helped your farmers navigate some of that storyline, right? Because, and has it had an impact on how buyers feel about dairy products? That's a loaded question.
Yeah, it's a loaded question. However, you're hitting on all the points that we are constantly navigating. And that's where I'll go back to, Dairy Management Inc., the National Chekhov Program, Arizona Dairy Council. They are feeding and navigating the consumer, wants and needs and what they're asking for. So we help our farmers, and our board of directors is very engaged as far as what is our consumer looking for and how can we best tell that story. Like you just described, you have a lactose-free milk option. Well, there's lactose-free options now, that comes, just, straight from milk, but they're processed differently. That was a change in the marketplace, and maybe Roxy can speak to more, but I didn't work in that part of the world, but I do know that's basically we are marketing their milk. So it's imperative we understand what the consumer's wants are, what their needs are. And Roxy does an amazing job telling the story of our farmers.
Yeah, we, I would say it's definitely a challenge, there's alternative milks that are kind of bashing regular milk. So we definitely try to take the high road and show, tout our nutrition. And there's also activists that have kind of been against us and saying that we don't take care of the animals, and they'll come and protest in front of the plant. So that's the not fun side of it. Yeah. But again, it's just education and showing. We'll make a video and post it on social media, and people get so excited. And so just keeping at it and not giving up, because I feel like there's enough negative people trying to take us down.
And especially now, right? Everybody's heightened. They have this heightened awareness around what they think is right, what they, and everybody else is wrong. And I'm speaking to social media specifically. Sure. The big divide that we've created. And I love what you've said. Let's take the high road. Let's continue to tell our story in a way that people understand and stay in front of it, really.
Yeah, that was a really big topic on social media when the news was covering our farmers and they were having to dump milk. It was just, we were inundated with comments and messages. Well, donate the milk. And I'm like, I have fluid milk. I don't have a bottle for it. I don't have it,
It needs to be
so
pasteurized.
We need it to be pasteurized. Yeah. We need it to be bottled. We don't do that at our plant. We just dry it at our plant. So we're doing the best we can. And that was at the beginning, making those connections was
education
huge.
Is everything, isn't it? To educate not only your farmers and their community and their families and their workers, but also obviously the consumers. And I know this is, really Roxy's thing, as you alluded to a second ago, telling the story. That really makes a difference, doesn't it? Because we can't shove it in our faces in a way that it's not palatable and not tasty. We've got to say, look, here's what's going on, right? And that likely isn't the dairy farmer's responsibility, right? They're taking care of their cows and their workers and the farm and making sure the equipment is safe and healthy and the best it can be, as you mentioned, to put out a great product. So again, just kudos to you guys and your organization. Take me on a little mental or imaginary tour of the plant down the street from us. I'm curious. Again, we talked about how big and beautiful it is. And are you looking at your time wondering how long?
No, not at all.
Just kidding. How much time do you have? We've got a lot of time. No, I'm teasing. I'm looking at you as if you'll kick that part off for us.
Oh, man. Okay. So it's so hard to describe without images. So you'll walk in and you have to have a key card access. So not just anyone can go into our plant. You have to be an employee.
And right now you have to wear a mask.
And you have to wear a mask. Absolutely. And there's hand sanitizer stations throughout and masks everywhere. So we are trying to protect everyone as much as possible. But you would walk through the break room. If you were going to take a break, it's a little spot, right through the front door. But then you go through and we have a lab which tests all the milk for, is it the components, the antibiotics, everything. A whole lab area, which is pretty large. And then if you take a right from the lab, you'll walk into where you basically have to scrub up, I guess.
Change
out your shoes or put on booties
all
over
your captive
shoes.
Wear.
Make sure you have a hairnet, beard net for guys. Earplugs, washing your hands, sanitizing your hands, the whole 9 yards. And then you go actually into the plant. And from there, you could get lost very easily. I usually do. But we have a lactose plant. We have dryers, evaporators, packaging area. We have robots in one part that are picking up the dried milk powder and placing it on pallets, which is kind of cool. We have a butter packing area. So, it's really wild to describe because it's sort of indescribable if you haven't been in there, I guess.
And I'll say to your point, when you moved here, you remember the plant being there. Well, the plant started very small, right?
Yeah.
And then over time, that's the only place that we've built any expansion. So as you can tell, what Roxy's alluding to is that it's just, we've been able to expand on that place, but it's not, you don't walk in just to one area, right? When you walk into this vast expansion of plants.
Yeah.
So there's plants within plants.
Right. And there's a store accessible to consumers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the Milk and More store, I think it started I think it was a cheese store in 70s and 80s, and then it kind of closed. And then it was a store for our employees in the early 2000s. So we are obviously open 24/7. So we wanted to have a place for our employees to be able to take a break, get a snack, water, juice, whatever, treats. And in 2018, we expanded the store even further and we offer sandwiches and salads, smoothies, ice cream, the whole entire line of Arizona farmed cheeses, which is my favorite section. And so it's open to the community, and we just have a lot of fun stuff in there.
And what, cheese curds are fresh after
12 on Thursdays.
Yeah, Roxy had mentioned that in a Tempe chamber meeting not too long ago, and my ex-husband lives in Tempe. I texted him, and he's from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Hey, cheese curds. And he already knew. He's like, I've already got it. That's where he goes, right? Yep. I love it. Current store hours, given COVID, it's still open. Wear a mask. What's the deal there?
Yeah. So we had to shorten our hours due to COVID. So 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, we are open. You must wear a mask. We do have hand sanitizer stations in the store as well. We clean, obviously, all day long and just try to make sure any high touch area is sanitized and clean. But yeah, we're doing as well as we can to keep everyone.
I'm embarrassed. I've never been by there. I really need to.
You have to.
It's silly. Now, do you, without quarantine and COVID days, do you give tours? I think I heard Kyle mention he got to take a tour. Is that just kind of a very exclusive, once in a while thing?
Yeah. Well, right now we're not giving tours. And honestly, we have not been for, I don't even know how long, a while, only because we are highly regulated and we're a food manufacturing plant. To keep our employees safe and the product safe, it was a decision that was made a couple years back that we limited it. And I think at this point, the tours are limited to, customers who need to come do an audit,
It likely is going to COVID is going to pave the way for more of those decisions that are longer lasting, right? For the very reasons you described, especially for places like yours.
And I'll say that Roxy has done a great job on pivoting in that area, because a lot of our audits, we have global customers, so they can't fly here right now. So we've been able to do video audits, and Roxy has put together a video for a particular product on that. And then there's some other videos she's been able to do, just because we aren't doing what we used to do. We're in the time of COVID. So yeah, I think we've done a really good job pivoting there.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, definitely connecting with IT and making sure everyone, if you're doing a video audit, you wouldn't think about it, but you need a strong Wi-Fi connection, and you need to make sure that you're not freezing in the middle of the video and whatnot. So yeah, just little things like that.
When we've talked to Suki at the Tempe Chamber after she put on the big leadership conference, a lot of us were giving her compliments and accolades, and I would imagine the same goes to both of you. Her job has completely changed given the quarantine and COVID. Now she's putting on these massive, events that are online, and she's become a producer. And I would imagine your jobs have shifted and pivoted, and you're like, okay, well, I don't know how to do it, but let's go. We're going to go
figure it out.
We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we were before COVID.
I know. I feel like that's the nature of the business.
I got that impression. You had alluded to that, Ashley. You had said that, anytime, day or night, your staff and your team is dedicated to serving your members and being there, and we'll get them the right resource. If they don't have it at their fingertips, they'll take care of that. I get the sense that this is just one more thing, right? It's how you roll anyway.
I mean, we are a 365-day, 24 hours a day. I didn't
realize that. You said that, Roxy.
We do not shut down.
Yeah.
And our dairies don't. Therefore, we don't. So, and that's part of, we're not used to COVID, right? But we're used to having to be, ready to go, ready to attack anything that might happen, in a blink of an eye, because things change in 24 hours. Or as we see during COVID, it was like 2 hours, everything was changing at the beginning. It was like
without some real solid answers and a lot of things shifting. Yeah. Interesting. Tell me about October being cooperative month, co-op month.
Yeah. So
what does that mean?
October is cooperative month. I think it started in 1964.
Oh, wow.
And it is just
my birth year.
Oh, okay. It was just a month to celebrate those who work in and benefit from co-ops around the country. And I got a fun fact that in America, there are over 40,000 co-ops throughout the nation.
That's a lot of co-ops. And we don't hear about them as often as I think we ought to. Maybe that's something that these new days will bring us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Collaborating.
Yes. Yeah. Coming together.
Yeah.
Love it. Where did you start your career? Did you know you'd always be doing this? Like, did you, when you were a little girl?
So, funny enough, when I was in ASU, I would also drive by United Dairymen of Arizona and say, what's that place? And then, keep going on my merry way. And I did an internship with the Dairy Council 12, 13 years ago now, and learned all about dairy and the farmers and the families, and was fascinated. And when I graduated from ASU, it was just a great transitional time for Dairy Council. And I was able to kind of fit myself in and get a communications role there, and have just grown since then. I think I'm on 12 years.
I was just going to ask. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I definitely had no dairy background before I started.
But now milk runs through your blood.
Yes. Yes.
And cheese.
Milk and cheese. Yeah. And then I have my husband. He'll tell me conversations he has with people, and I'm like, I'm so proud. You did such a good job talking about milk. Thank you. So, we're very passionate about milk now.
I love it. And how about you? You were a little girl and you just knew.
I was born and raised on one of the dairies out in the East Valley.
You were?
I was. Yeah. My grandparents were one of the founding members of United Dairymen of Arizona. But I will say that I did not think in my wildest dreams I would end back here in Arizona.
That's fascinating.
In the dairy industry. I went to law school to do corporate law, and I ended up back in agriculture when I was in law school. And from there, it was obvious that was my niche, and I didn't know exactly where I was going to fit in the agriculture law space. But I ended up getting a job at University of Maryland as a legal extension specialist, helping producers out there, all sorts of producers, poultry, vegetable farmers, everybody, just basically navigating regulatory law, estate planning, things of that nature. And then, I was there for 2.5 years, and the job that I have now, the person that was there before that I ended up replacing, he was retiring. I think he'd been there for 42
years.
42 years. So there's a lot of longevity.
I love that.
At UDA. So I flew out here for Thanksgiving, and I met with my now boss, and it just kind of everything fit. It made sense. And it's pretty much my dream job that I never knew existed.
Well, you both exude it. I mean, I can, in the very, few times that Roxy and I've had a chance to connect, and the way in which you represent the UDA, it's just lovely. And I can see that the rest of you are like that as well. Is it still a working dairy farm that you grew up on?
Yes, it's now. So I grew up in Gilbert, and that dairy has since moved to Eloy, which I think is our furthest south dairy. And my uncle now runs it.
Yeah, neat. Still in the family.
Yeah, still in the family.
So what's next for UDA? Is there a what's next? Like what's on the horizon? How can we best support you?
Well, on the horizon, where I'm also in charge of our sustainability initiatives.
Talk about that.
So we are about to start our journey to setting a science-based target, which is a reduction of some sort. We, of course, literally just had our kickoff meeting yesterday of what our goal will be in reducing greenhouse gas emissions as a co-op.
Oh, I love that. And you heard it here, folks. It just happened yesterday.
Right?
Do you know Dory Morales with Green Living Magazine?
I do not.
Okay, we'll need to make that introduction for you. And there's a couple other sustainability groups and organizations that would be excited about what you're up to and maybe get to help, whatever. I never know where the synergies lie, but let's make sure that we get you connected with those folks. That's exciting.
Yes.
And so necessary.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you all members of Local First Arizona as well?
I think we were at one point. I'm not sure if that has lapsed.
Sure.
So we'll have to confirm.
I would. I'm not putting you on the spot, but Thomas, I've learned so much from Thomas and Kimber, and have been a member just for a year, about the same length of time that I have been with the Tempe Chamber, and we're all advocates, right? It's a collaborative effort to lift everybody up, and I know with Kimber Lanning, who's the founder for Local First Arizona. I might be speaking out of turn, but I think Thomas, as the executive director, focuses primarily on the Metro Phoenix area, right? Keeping business local. But Kimber has become a huge advocate for those suburban and rural areas because, of course, we want them to succeed as well, whether it's little mom and pop shops or some of those businesses that rely on, of course, the economy staying here in Arizona. So it'd be another great connection to get you guys reconnected. Well, I think those are the only questions that I have. What else have I not thought to ask, or a story you'd like to share before we close our segment? Anything that? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to poke Roxy for one of her accomplishments, I believe, during COVID and your partnership with our which food bank?
United Food Bank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So in the beginning, when things were crazy, Ashley and I were on the phone, and we were like, we need to get milk to the people that need it. And what are we going to do? This is taking too long. And so I looked up some food banks, and we have worked with United in the past, but they have on their website, you can make a portal and ask for donations. So we built our little portal, a donation portal for milk. And it was, supporting farmers and supporting farmers and families. And we were able to raise almost $20,000 to get milk. Either to purchase milk and transport it, because transportation
was a
huge cost. So that was, amazing to see people that, as I said earlier, they were like, well, why don't you donate it? I'm like, well, here we go. Like, let's all get together and we'll be able to get something going, because it we kind of felt helpless in the beginning. So that was a fun, easy, not easy, but
I think Roxy
challenge.
did a great job. She's being too humble.
I know easy is what I hear you saying,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear you saying that it was an easy fix to a great need.
Yeah.
And somebody and a group just had to jump on it and find a way to do it.
Exactly.
So in that, it was easy.
Yeah.
I'm also imagining a lot of hours and trying to figure out how to, jockey
Yes.
this and logistics and even building the portal, that sort of thing. But congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, that was really fun. And once people started donating, pretty quickly, and then United Food Bank was like, well, we need to talk about this more. So then they kind of pushed it more on their social media and PR. And so that's how we got nearly $20,000.
Oh my gosh. In such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Love
it.
it.
was like a month. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I was
it
thinking the
was
whole
quick.
span of this quarantine.
No,
but
yeah, it was like a month or two. It was quick. Yeah.
And is that still out there and
I
available?
believe it's still open. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, as we kind of wrap up our segment, how can consumers best support our dairy farmers through the cooperative? Let's start there.
I can
Buy
start
milk products.
Yes, buy milk. But specifically, if you're looking for local products and you're not sure where our milk is sold, you can go to and find the store brand of, Safeway, Fry's. I think even Target store brand is Arizona Milk, Bashas', Food City. Those are all made in Arizona and processed in Arizona. But if you're unsure, if you look on, all dairy products have the little date that it's like Best Buy or whatever. Underneath it, there's a code. And the Arizona code always starts with a 04. So if you see a 04-510 or 04-511, you'll know the 04 code means it's made in Arizona.
That's great. That's not the barcode necessarily.
No, that's like the code that's stamped that says
Typically,
used by or Best Buy, kind of like on the top of a
And
gallon.
they'll be on milk products, yogurts, and cheeses, all dairy products?
Yeah, so on most cheeses, on Daisy Sour Cream, I have found the code, so you'll find it there. And then I've yet to find it on cream cheese, but Greek cream cheese that you'll find at Fry's is also Arizona.
Sure. 04.
04.
The code will start with 04, and that way we know it's locally
Made,
produced.
Yeah,
whatever.
all of it.
Yeah, that's. I feel very informed again. I love it. Okay, so what do you need from our Arizona business community? Is there anything you need from our Arizona business community to help, again, our dairy farmers? How can we best support?
I was going to say, I'm sure if I think about it, there are things we definitely need. Because you said, is there anything? I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you're having an event, we would be happy to supply cheese curds or any sort of, of our Arizona cheeses. Let's see. Other things. I'd love to hear from other groups that are doing things in the sustainability space and what's been successful for them and how we can maybe contribute or they can contribute to what we're doing. That's the other thing. Our supply chain is vast. From the plant perspective, I'm sure there are so many things that might fit. We just, need to collaborate or learn, educate.
Well, use me as a resource. Let me know. We're very well dialed. When I say we, I'm a party of one pretty much. But I'm very dialed in with, like I said, Arizona Tech Council, the universities, Local First, Tempe Chamber, small little mom and pop stores all the way on up through enterprises.
And I'll go ahead and just comment on one more thing. I know that in the midst of COVID, I know there are people looking for jobs, and we have jobs open. And we'd love to also partner with any of the tech schools. I know we have a need for maintenance areas, so I'll do a little pitch for some labor needs that we have.
Excellent.
And you can find all of those job openings on our website as well, uda.coop.
Very
COOP.
good.
Yeah.
And the jobs vary, of course, but everything will be on there.
They vary, everything will be on there. And I know that maintenance right now is one area that we have a large need for. So I know that there's, we have a vast number of technical schools in the area. So
we do.
And we'd love to partner. So
so good. Really, really good. All right. We know that you are just down the street from us. What is the location? We're here in Tempe, Arizona at...
we are located at 2008 South Hardy Drive, just right on the corner of Broadway and Hardy in Tempe. Can't miss us.
Right. Love it. And the store currently, is open Monday through Friday.
6 to 4 p.m.
Yeah. Very good. And I'm so glad you took me on kind of a mental imaginary tour of not only the whole plant, but the store as well. I didn't realize, and are you still offering the sandwiches and smoothies and those sorts of things?
Yeah. So with like additional I guess, additional PPE in place and things of that nature, yes, we're now still providing, the to-go options. So
smart.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the longevity that you two both have shared in your journey with UDA and the people that you serve is impressive. And it sounds like the rest of the team reflects that as well. So kudos to you. And I know that I deeply appreciate the opportunity to get to know you guys better.
Oh, thank you.
Aside from the physical location, where can we find you on the web? I know you mentioned a website just a second ago, but also social media.
So the website is www.uda.coop or Coop. And then you can find us on Facebook at UDA Milk, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. And then Milk and More is also on Instagram and Facebook. So that's at Milk and More.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. I hope this was as much fun for you as it was for me. Good.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. You've been listening to Phoenix Business RadioX, broadcasting live from within the Max 6 Conscious Workspace studio. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean business. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki. Thanks for listening.